strength or support of the household. You know, that man that she's supposed to long after, overflow towards. You know, that man that the Creator said shall rule over her. So there's something that this man is given as a garment which simply symbolizes just that. Okay? So this term, ben, you find it in number 1121. And it simply means, as we stated, a son as a builder of the family name. See, think about it. Why do men long to have sons? If a man has a daughter, the daughter is given to another man to possess. And that woman actually bears the seed of that man and continues that man's household. When a man has a son, that man now has another bearer of the seed, and that son now continues that man's household. There's a distinction there. Okay? So he is the head of the household. Now, moving along. What does headship mean? Okay? A couple words that we want to think about when we consider headship. Guidance. Okay? So it's the man's responsibility to be the guide of the household. That's why, see, when chauvinism became a popular way of belief among humanity. Okay? And not just in this culture, you find it across the board. Look at the Asian culture, where their women are very submissive. Okay? Look at your Middle Eastern culture, where your women are very submissive. But men, they have abused that privilege. So much so, think about this. In some of your Middle Eastern cultures, or your Asian cultures, they have abused chauvinism so much to the point you have now in existence what is referred to as female circumcision. In other words, their minds have been so darkened and they are so caught up in deception that they believe that it is necessary to remove a particular part of the female anatomy so that the female does not enjoy that, not realizing they are altering the way that the Creator of the heavens and the earth made her, with the intent to enjoy that consummation because of what it points to, what it symbolizes. That's why homosexuality is such a grand sin and an abomination to the Most High. I don't care what argument you try to use to defend it, you're wrong. Period. End of discussion. But again, people's minds are so corrupt and they move so far away from the simplicity of the word. Husbands, love your wives. That's the command given to the ruler of the household who was put in that position for guidance. Think about it. Hawa left the side of her husband. So now he established, this is your head. He shall bear the rule over thee. Supervision is another responsibility of those who have that headship, the men of the household, the support of the house, Geber, the strong man. Oversight, okay, regulation. All of these are responsibilities given to the man of the house. This is what that man symbolizes to the woman. Let's take another example in consideration. Turn in your Bibles to Numbers chapter 30, beginning at verse 3. And these are some laws that have been instituted pertaining to vows. Okay? And in these laws, it is clearly shown the position of leadership, the position of authority that has been placed upon that man. And as that saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. That's why you look at any man's household, if it's in disarray, guaranteed, because that man was not doing what he was supposed to do. in accord with the instruction that the Most High laid down. But let's read. If a woman also vow a vow unto Yahweh, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth. So now, you're talking about a woman who still resides at home. And while that woman is at home, her father, that man, is the head of that household. Verse 4. And her father hear her vow, and her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul. And her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. So in other words, while that woman lives at home with her father, if she makes a vow and the father says that it's okay, then that woman is bound to that vow. Verse 5. But if her father disallow her, this is the power of the head of the household that they had over daughters, as well as what we're going to see, wives. But let's finish this out. Verse 5 again. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth, not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand, and Yahweh shall forgive her, because her father disallowed her. In other words, if that woman makes a vow between her and the Most High, that father, being the head, has the power to say no. And the Most High acknowledges that. Let's move on. And the question we have to ask ourselves again, brothers and sisters, what does this teach? Not to, again, and I want to keep emphasizing this because you got a lot of Hebrews and Israelites and Jews who are still perpetrating this chauvinistic mentality when that is not what Yahweh intended. Husbands, love your wives, even as you love yourselves. So if you don't want certain things done to you, by all means, brothers, don't do it to that woman that you have. But let's move on. Picking up in verse 6, Numbers chapter 30. And if she had at all an husband when she vowed, or uttered out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, then her vows shall stand, and her bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallowed her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and Yahweh shall forgive her. In other words, what we are learning, as long as the woman resides in the household of her father has that authority over her, being the head. That's why when a man and a woman get married, the father gives the bride away. In other words, he's relinquishing his authority of his daughter and giving her over to this man. Now the man becomes that father figure. In other words, the head of that household. Now, let's go back to Numbers chapter 15. Let's see some things. Now, what better way, as far as garments go, to symbolize the authority that the man has over the woman. The fact that when she has a question pertaining to that word, look to your husband, because he is the son and bears that creative life force, that seed, which solidifies his position as being the head, the ruler. What better way to demonstrate that by giving this command for a particular garment, which we're going to see. Numbers 15 and 38 continuing. It says, speak unto the sons of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. Now, why the ribbon of blue? All you need to do, look out your window, look at that sky, that blue sky, which in our mind is symbolic of the heavens. So now we understand that the creator of the heavens and the earth dwells, resides there. So that symbol of blue that's in the fringe is symbolic of that heavenly rulership, that same headship, because the creator of the heavens and the earth is water's ruler. And his representative on earth is man. Now this is not to say that women don't have a role. Don't jump ahead. We're going to deal with the other part of this passage as well. But the focal point is to come to understand the garment that he gave as a distinction that's supposed to be worn by the men are the zitzit, the fringes. Let's move on. Verse 39, it says, and it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it. Now we want to take a look at the term fringe. See, he says that we may look upon it. So among the nation of Israel, the men, in whatever capacity, your men are your fathers, your men are your husbands, okay? In whatever capacity, the women are to look to their husbands. And when they look to their husband and they see the fringe garment, that's symbolic of the rulership. Why? Because when you look at it, that's something you're supposed to do. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But let's look at the term here. Okay. Okay. The term is zitzit. Z-zip. Okay. Number 6, 7. Number 6, 7, 3, 4 in your Strongs. Okay. Now, what this means is a floral or wing-like projection. Now, this term come from another term. I'm going to put this up on the board just so you can see. I'm sorry. This term here is and get the number down for you. 6730.